Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to ITA Group's Audio Insights. Today, you're listening to Why Partner Experience Matters and Where to Start. I'm your host, Max Kinkle, and I'm joined today by Ellen Lincolnhoker, one of ITA Group's channel and incentive experts. I would argue the channel and incentive expert. Ellen, how are you?
I'm fantastic, especially after an introduction like that.
Well, every word of it was true, even my name. So let's just cut to the chase. What is partner experience?
Great question. Let's dive right in. Partner experience is the culmination of all of those touch points and engagements a partner has with your brand, your partner portal, staff, technology, solutions. I like to think of it as similar to the buyer's journey. It's just more than what you, the brand, plan for. It's how that person individually experiences your brand, or in this case, how they experience your channel program.
So how do you define it?
I've seen it frequently defined as the profitability and some metrics around the health of partner relationships, which is certainly part of it, but it's so much more than that. I like to think of partner experience as basically all of the partners' touch points, and it's their perception of how all of those interactions with your brand, your partner program, whether they're good, bad, or mediocre, that heavily sways their brand preference and advocacy.
So would you almost say that it varies by partner?
Yes, each one, just like you would be as a consumer, is going to have a different perception of their interactions with you. Each person has their own. You can certainly map and sway those, but it's all down to that personal engagement with the brand that ultimately decides preference or advocacy.
So it's almost like, it sounds like you're quantifying, or like you're scoring KPIs across your partner network and segment.
Essentially, I mean, once you get down to measuring it, absolutely.
Cool. So why is this important? Like, why would anybody care? I'm a channel person, an XYZ client. Why do I care about my partner experience?
Yeah, and I feel like this is an interesting question because I don't know that we always did. I think there's been this just shift in, I don't want to say who holds the power, but there's the shift in the relationship where it's no longer what can you do for me? It's more of a two-way street. And as you get into that relationship where it's more of a give and take, the partner experience is going to become one of the differentiators. And this to me is one of the biggest ones. We recently actually just did some research into how channel programs are evolving, and it just reiterates that there is so much noise for partners. And the easier it is to do business with you, the more you speak that partner's language and tailor things to them, that's when the partner experience becomes that tipping point for preference, and you have a differentiation point in favor of your partner program. It basically is going to help you not sound like anybody else. So looking at the partner experience like that is going to help you break through all of that noise. Another big one is increased revenue, which I think everyone is after. This ties back to the idea of being easier to work with. The simpler you make it, and the more clearly you can state what you need from them and how they benefit, the more likely they are to work with you, which generally equates to increased revenue. And the last one I think is important to note on why you should even care about partner experience is that end customer positive impact. This is the trickle-down effect working. The more prepared and armed the partner is to sell your products and services, and the better they're able to find things, and the more they appreciate your brand, the better experience a customer is going to have as well.
Well, that seems to make sense. I think, when I think of like, why should I care? Maybe there was a mentality in the past that like, well, you should just sell. We're letting you sell our product. Like, isn't that enough? And I agree. I don't think it is enough. So, like, what would you take then to the next step? Like, what would be included in that partner experience other than just the privilege to sell my product?
Yeah. So the partner experience is everything. It's the recruitment, the onboarding, the enablement, the infrastructure you have in place. It could be the benefits and eligibility, program policies, governance, measures, how you're measuring success, ongoing evolution of your messaging, your communication, any interaction with brand staff, your own channel managers could be part of that experience as well. It's so much more than just having technology or a communication plan in place. It's how they interact with it. How do they get to things? How useful do they find them? There's a distinct emotional component that is hard to tie a measure to and can easily change based on who that partner is, and what they need from you at that time, which I think speaks to the previous point of it's an individual preference almost, but you do have some control over the way that they experience your brand or your partner program while you are engaging with them.
So what I'm hearing is that it's really just like customer experience in that you segment your customers and you hit them with different things depending on which segment they fall into to maximize that customer lifetime value. What I'm hearing you say is do the same thing with your partners and maximize their partnership lifetime value.
Exactly. That relationship can be impacted to increase your goals together, whether that's revenue, influence, whatever you're trying to get them to do more of.
So let's talk about that, what you're trying to do more of. Where do you find the biggest wins are in this partner experience space that you could tackle in 2021?
Absolutely. Great question. It's so easy to get wrapped up in how giant things feel to change or impact. And sometimes that makes it hard to get started. I do think there are a few ways that you can tackle the partner experience that feels easier to take on. And I will say, like, doing something is going to be better than doing nothing. So literally, if you just make it easier to log in, that's a win. If you make payouts quicker, that's a win. If you give them choice instead of just cash all the time, that's a win. Some of these smaller things can make a big impact. But if we're talking about what you could tackle this year that still feels manageable, here are some slightly bigger things that you could take on. And one of the big ones that I really like and am passionate about is the partner experience portal. If you haven't heard that term before, it's kind of like a fancier partner portal. I'm sure you actually probably have like one or two or even three different ways that somebody could log in and have a portal in essence. And what a partner experience portal does is kind of pull all of that disparate infrastructure together. So if you have those things that are all over the place, this can be a good one to take on. Essentially, it's kind of like an air traffic controller who helps partners know where to go. I sometimes joke, if you're a sci-fi fan, that it's a bit like a Stargate SG-1 portal. So you basically have, each time a partner logs in, it queries their profile and status and specialization, and it dials in to the right planet to send them to, or which destination they're going. And so when they get there and they log in, it's all tailored to them. They have only their promotions, only their enablement, only their training. It has their status in their program. Their next thing that they need to do to help them achieve that next milestone is in there, all tailored to them. And so it kind of just pulls everything in together. It's that traffic controller. It can do integrations. It could be through single sign-on. It's essentially just a living, breathing page that can simplify and make your partner experience more clear. So that is a great one. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, so let me give you an example and you tell me if I'm thinking about this the right way. So I am a partner of XYZ company again, and typically I've got to go get marketing materials from one website. I've got to go see my purchase history on another website. I've got to go to another website to order, and all of these keep adding up. What you're suggesting here is kind of like an aggregation site where I can get into all of that stuff with just a click of, one or two clicks away, as opposed to logging out, logging back in, logging out, logging back in. Is that a good way to say it back to you?
You got it. It's more than just a site with a link, though. I'll have to show you some pictures. Maybe we can get some pictures in here. I know this is an audio insight, but reach out if you want to see what this looks like.
What's another low-hanging fruit then? So making some basic upgrades to how a partner can get a hold of you is kind of the lowest hanging fruit. What would be the next step?
Yeah, another thing that you can do to start to tackle the partner experience is map the partner journey. This is a fantastic, if not the foundation piece that you should do when you start making changes to the partner experience. You kind of have to know what you've got today to know what to tweak for tomorrow. So start at onboarding, work through enablement and ongoing touches. How are your campaigns and promotions getting rolled out? What does support look like? How often do CAMs touch the partner account or whatever you call them? But basically, it's a bit like an audit, but from the partner's perspective. I'd also encourage doing a focus group or survey. Those in-depth interviews can actually pinpoint some really easy wins for you. And in my opinion, they're worth every penny.
So when you talk about that focus group, you're talking about maybe 20 interviews or some 15 to 20 interviews with all types of partners. And when I say all types, I mean, your a few of your best, a few of your middle, a few of your worst, maybe by product line.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get a feel, right, of like what would make their lives easier. Really hear it from the horse's mouth, right?
Spot on. Worth more than a best guess.
So once you get that personalization, that feedback, then how do you work that personalization into a partner experience story? Where does that fit?
Personalization is similar to that partner journey. It's just kind of interwoven into the experience. I had mentioned that research earlier, but it also pointed towards personalization being one of the things that would increase partner effort, partner revenue, partner time, and resources. It essentially was saying that like the more relevant and tailored to that person in your partner program, the better experience they'll have. So unless, of course, they are getting sent the wrong things, which hopefully isn't the case or the data issues you're facing, they're going to have a better experience the more you can personalize or tailor or make it relevant for them. If you wanted a tangible example, it could even be as simple as like, okay, well, if I am an MSP and I happen to also do my own implementations, you could also show me if I just completed a deal, like, hey, here's our best steps to implementing this, or here are the touch points that we recommend after you left the client with their fresh install. Or even if you were working in manufacturing and you just purchased a bunch of bulk products to get your discount or rebate on the back end and your sellers have to sell it now. Well, they're not selling in bulk, they're selling to a person. And they feature mostly, let's call it government work. So they try to sell into government entities with this product. So you can tailor that to them by offering very tailored and customized enablement, or maybe it's messaging, or it's a very specific promotion you have for this type of product that you know is generally purchased by government workers. So it's just making everything more accessible, and they don't have to wade through all of the noise, all of the junk, which I know it's really great. It's not great for everyone, which is the key takeaway here.
Sure. Just make it easy, right? Make it easy for people to do business with you. That's what I'm hearing through and through on this. So, okay. So let's say that I take these steps with my partners, and we go out, we talk to 20 of them. We understand now, like, okay, if we switch the website, make it a little easier, we do some single sign on there. We start to feed them and push them content instead of making them search for it, just based on some basic triggers. Now, how do I measure that? How do I know it's working? What am I looking for there to prove effectiveness?
Ooh, jumping in with the tough questions. This one's a moving target, and I think that you find that even in CX. And I'm not dodging the question. I will absolutely give like actionable measurement items, but this is so subjective. You can't just take the same measurement that somebody else is using. Like, this is going to be very tailored to you. And a couple of ones that I always like to see are engagement levels. This is a big one. Are you seeing more use of the things you're tweaking? Another great one that you can use to measure partner experience is to ask them, use a survey. Maybe you could even get to a partner effort score, like on a scale from 1 to 10, how easy was this for you? Or did you find what you were looking for? What you found, did you find it effective? Did you use it? So you can be a little bit creative as you identify what points you want to ask those at. Another way you could measure partner experience is, do you see an increase in deal registration, or do you see an increase in sales? That might take a little longer to see, because this is not like going out to buy lip gloss. This is something that's going to take a little time to see the outcome of. So you have to be vested in it a little bit. Another one you could measure is improved lead gen, or are they using the materials? One of the best recommendations I can make is to establish some baselines for the things that partners care about, which you could certainly have uncovered in those focus groups. But how quickly did I find what I needed? How long did it take to get that quote or support? How often do I get paid out? How are you helping me generate leads? Another common measure that we see used a lot in customer experience is lifetime value, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, and that is often anchored in retention and growth. So are partners sticking around? Are they consistent? Are they growing? There are a number of different things that you can measure. And I like to always step back and say, okay, how can this measurement look more like points mapped along that journey we just talked about. So for instance, at this stage, say it's the end of onboarding, what signals a good PX here? Okay, well, then you mark that down, take a baseline. And then at the next milestone that you've mapped on your journey, say maybe it's making a claim or filling the paperwork on a completed sale, what metric shows success here? And then just keep doing that along all the points in that journey and then tally it all up along the path. And you could even come to a final score at the end, a total PX score, if you will. And you could even think of it like a little NPS score for partners. But I guess my big suggestion here is don't just pick one thing to map a partner experience score to or to measure, because you won't be able to understand the nuances of where to work on the experience. So without some level of measures across their journey, across all those interactions with you, you're going to have a hard time prioritizing the smart things to fix. And each of those measures is probably going to be different.
Yeah, I mean, even the first one you said about engagement levels and are you seeing more usage of the things you're tweaking? I mean, depending on how robust or how ill-fated your current solution for partners is, honestly, seeing a decrease of usage might be the right metric. If it's cumbersome for them to find stuff on a website and now all of a sudden it's one click away and they get through that experience faster. I mean, so I get what you're saying when you say it's nuanced and it kind of depends, but I like that. And I think, just, from my knowledge of these types of solutions too, year one is about engagement. And when you revamp this stuff, are the revamps working? Are you seeing that uptick in usage and utilization, speed to market, those types of things? And then, on the back end, year two and beyond, you can really start to tie sales increases to that and some of that partner lifetime value. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Where can someone start if they're just getting into this? So maybe and I wouldn't even say in this case, I'm talking about like somebody new to like a channel manager role. I mean, like, what if I've been doing the same thing for my partners for 20 years? Where would I even start now?
You mean if your program celebrated its 30th birthday this month?
Yeah.
Yeah. This doesn't have to be crazy. I just go back to, you don't have to have a big internal project or a massive budget. Like ideally you would invest something here, but you certainly can just pick a few things and then start prioritizing that partner journey. Like if you're going to pick one thing to work on next, pick the partner journey, map it out, even if it's not complete, or hire somebody to do it. Start here. Start with a segment. Start with that journey map. Know your audience. These are the foundational components that will get you started on the right path. And like I said earlier, even making baseline things simpler, faster, clearer, automated, that's going to make a difference for you. Definitely reach out to me if you're not sure where to go first. We could do a virtual sesh. I'd love that. But you don't have to feel like this is overwhelming, or if your partner is so old that you're just like not sure where to start, it might be the perfect time just to dig into that journey map. And that's where I would always point people to start first.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. So I'll recap what I learned from you today. You should treat your partners differently depending on what partner they are and how they're with you, much the same way that you would treat a customer differently potentially. And you should weave in some of those maybe customer experience best practices about personalization, ease of use, and interactions. But the biggest thing that I heard from you today is if you're thinking that there might be an issue with your partner network or that it could be improved, put yourself in their shoes and dig in to understand what it's like to do business with you, and then start checking things off as you make it easier to do business with you. And if you approach it that way, based on what I learned from you today, it sounds like we'd have a pretty good partner network here in short order. So
absolutely. And the only thing I'd add, because I'm a data nerd at heart, is take a benchmark and measure something.
Yeah, right. I mean, without measurement, there's no way to tell who won. So,
absolutely.
Great. Well, thanks, Ellen. If you guys have questions, you can reach out to Ellen. Contact will be on the website. Ellen, any last thoughts?
No, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully see you soon with another audio insight.
All right. Thanks, everybody.